Hi, welcome to Life Expressions. It's been a long time and I'm so glad to be back. I'm your host, Shari Hinete Elon. And today is very special because shall I say, my icon for speaking about motivation and coaching is with me tonight on my show. And she's no other than Akeela Davis. Akeela is a consultant and trainer and coach and founder of Courageous Business Culture, which specializes in employee engagement and culture renovation. Her hobby is finding a hobby. Her passion is helping young people find the right work in the right company so that they find satisfaction in making the difference they desire. They have training programs for leadership, coaching managers, teaching managers how to coach. And Akeela, by the way, has a lot of speaking engagements. And I'm so thankful for saying yes to my invitation, Akeela. She has been in the panel for Discovering Dedicated Talent. She also talked to Women in Cloud for navigating office politics and give has given a lot of talks on people matters, workplaces of the future, women in leadership events, motivation matters, communicating for success. And these two are my favorites: surviving bad bosses and my career by design. She is a certified NLP practitioner and serious neuroscience student, certified health coach, certified money breakthrough coach, certified money marketing and soul coach, and certified corporate motivational maps master practitioner. Welcome to Life Expressions, Akeela.
Thank you. When I listen to things like that, I go, really, Akeela? You've done that and you don't like to talk about it?
Well, I am so happy that you gave me this time to talk to me about important things, especially now that the world has changed, the business landscape has changed. Some businesses just might have a problem adjusting to the change that COVID has brought about the world. Would you agree to that?
Absolutely. There's so many changes that we have to deal with right now. And probably one of the most important ones is in the workplace, because what was okay 3 years ago is not okay today.
Yeah. So,
Definitely.
what is okay 3 years ago is not okay. Let us talk about that. What are these things that were okay before and not okay now?
Well, there's a number of things. A good example is before it was difficult for people to work from home. And that caused all sorts of problems, especially for women who had young children, even if they were women in tech and worked with computers. But the establishment or their bosses would not let them work from home. And that was very dissatisfying. It was one of the reasons a lot of young women were dropping out of technology, because they had to choose between their home and their work. And it was very sad because the average year, you know what it costs to get a good technology degree. And women were dropping out after an average of 12 years in the field. You know, and to me, that is such a waste. Anyway, along came COVID. The whole world had to just scramble to find a way of actually being productive during that time. And lo and behold, working from home became the thing. So what they said couldn't be done is now being done. And what organizations are finding now that we're into the post-COVID going back to the office is that women who want to work at home, if they ask for it and the company say, nope, you have to come back to the office, there's a big push to bring people back to the office. And there's also a big push back. And they're saying, you know what? If I can't work from home, I will go and find another job, because there's other people who will let you do that, and it's well known out there. And that was at least one of the reasons for the Great Resignation, when people were saying, hey, things have changed. So that's one of the things have changed. But the most important thing in my mind is employees have changed. And by that, what I mean is, if you think about it, COVID was the first time in most people's lives they've had a chance to step back, step away from the workplace, and think, think about their lives. Think about what was going on. They were facing their mortality or the mortality of people that they like or love. And when you start thinking that, what you want changes. How you want to live your life changes. And I think that is the biggest thing that employers are facing, and they don't know it yet, is your employees have changed. And you need to know what they're thinking and feeling. Are they still motivated to do the job, or do they need something else that was going to motivate them? And unless you know that, what's going to happen is like what happened in the Great Resignation, is that a lot of people resign, but because they were doing a job before and they have experience in it, they think, hey, that's the job I'm most likely to get. So they go out and look for it. And they get there. And at first it's exciting and interesting because it's a new environment. And then within 6 months to a year, they start feeling that same sense of, this is not where I want to be. And so our minds, we make decisions with emotions, and then we try to justify it by logic. So the logical part of us, yeah, you were saying?
I'm sorry. I wanted to find out first, like, what do you think brought about this change? Do you think it's the priorities that have brought about this change?
Yes, definitely. Because when you're home and you are seeing your children every single day, and you realize just how much they do depend on you and they do like having you around, you want to be there. You know, mothers and fathers today, it's not, I don't think that all men want to go out to work. There's a lot of them who are more nurturing than some mothers. My husband is one. And so you look at your life and you go, you know what? In this pandemic, I could die at any time, or somebody else can die. And what am I leaving behind? Over the years, the way people have made big career changes is when they've been ill or someone close to them have died, and you start saying, oh my God, life is too short, you know, and it changes your priorities. And that's what's happened during the pandemic.
And so, how should leaders, especially business owners and leaders, cope with this and adjust with this change in employees?
Well, one of the things, and this is one of the things I'm finding, is when I go in and do what I call a pulse check on a group of employees, one of the things that have come to the top is people want to make a difference with whatever time they have. So as an employer, you have to understand that they want to make a difference, and you have to create an environment where they can see that they're making a difference to something important. It's not business as usual. It's not all about money. It's, as a matter of fact, I don't know if money was ever one of the top motivators, but employers thought so. Here's a fun number for you. When a person left a company, 84% of managers thought they were leaving because of money. Only 12% did. That's a huge disconnect.
And what was the cause, perhaps, of them leaving the company? Is if
We
not
don't even
money?
want to get there because people leave for different reasons. And now when
Yes.
I see people leaving, it's because they want more flexibility to spend time with their kids. They are moving away from the hubbub into a smaller community where they will have a better quality of life. And cost of living is a big one, because you and I know that it's very difficult for young people to afford a home here in Vancouver. But if you were to move out a little bit, you can definitely do that, and you can still telecommute to work. Now, so it's opening up opportunities. The other part, and this is one that employees don't understand, is that with the telecommuting, we have opened up, employers now have the option of choosing people from anywhere in the world.
Yes, it has become more competitive in the workforce.
Yes, definitely. And there's now companies out there who will become the employer of record for employers. So they don't have to worry about the taxes and things like that in various countries. They will take care of all of that. They just provide you with an employee. So there's just so much that is changing and so quickly, it's hard for people to keep up. Just recently, someone I know, he is 58. He's been with this company for a long time. And he is very much, let's get the work done. We do it my way. I will tell you what you need to do and get it done. He is having a tough time coping because employees don't want that anymore. They
Exactly.
want they want more empathy. They want to be developed. And that's why the Coaching for Managers program is so powerful and so popular, because what it's doing, it's teaching managers to develop their staff by
Yeah.
asking them the right questions, by helping them solve their own problems so that they are getting more confident about what they can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that leadership styles should change from command and control to trust and inspire. I'm
Yes.
always motivated by my CEO, Peter Legg, when he always trusts and inspires his employees, and that you are given the respect that you deserve and you feel valued. Is that very important in the business that we have today?
Yes and no. And when I say yes and no, is because there's some people who need that. When that is what inspires them, it makes them more productive, and that's what matters. But if somebody is motivated by something else, let's say people who love the independence and flexibility and they want to make a difference, they would be inspired by being trusted to do the right thing. Okay. And give, most of us who do that give more than people expect. There's the other group of people who needs to be told what to do, when to do it, how to do it. Their aim is to please. They don't like surprises. They want to know what's going to happen tomorrow morning. They get up, they get dressed, they get on into the car, get to work, sit at their desk, get so much done, and come back. You give those people that kind of freedom, and it confuses them and demotivates them.
How do you know the difference between these two kinds of people?
Well, as you know, one of the tools that I use is motivational maps. And I was one of the people, I was the person who brought it to North America in 2013. And it's only now people are saying, yeah, this makes sense. Yes, I can see this. Yes, so that is, and I always like to look ahead as to what's coming. This one I didn't see,
Mhm.
but wow, is it powerful today? Yeah.
Yes, it is a very powerful and useful tool that would allow you to know more about your employees and their needs. And it's
Yes.
up to the management or the leaders to give this need.
Yes. You know, it's how you talk to someone, how you actually praise them for doing something good. It's how you reward them. Um, when I was a financial advisor, and my colleagues were all, not all, a lot of them driven by money. They loved the bonuses and stuff. There was a group of us who didn't participate in those competitions, not because we didn't enjoy money, everybody does, but we thought there should be a category about how much you're helping your clients. How satisfied are your clients? Because that was what our motivations were, to make a difference in the lives of our clients. So different things. And once they know that, you can design different rewards for different people that will satisfy them. And the happier a person is at work, the more productive they are, the more loyal they are. And it's been proven over and over and over, the more money that company makes, because they're good to your customers, they're good to your suppliers.
So at this day and age, what do businesses need?
Well, they need to be flexible. They need to listen to what their employees are saying to them. And what they also need is to look at, they have to re-envision their work environment. What used to be is, how can we change this? What worked during COVID? What didn't? Okay. How can we take the part that didn't? What do we need to do there to make it work for what we want. That's the first thing. But a lot of them are just trying to get back to work without stopping and saying, hey, we need to change. You know? The way we hire, it's not good enough to just bring somebody in, sign them up, and then 3 months, 6 months, a year later, they're gone. It's too costly. Do you know what it costs to replace somebody who has left? It can cost anywhere from 50% to 100% of the salary for that position. And it can cost more if it's a CEO or a very specialized person. For a CEO, it can cost 150% or more. So imagine that somebody who's been paid $300,000 a year, let's say, it can cost $500,000 to get them in and up to speed and fully productive.
So it is important to keep your employees happy and motivated and feel valued.
That's right. And the only way you can do that is to know how they're feeling. Because when people are unhappy at work, they don't tell their boss. They feel threatened if they do. Yeah. So if you have something that you're doing on a regular basis to find out how they truly feel, okay, then you can do something. I've got an example for you. There was this one company I did some work for, and the CEO and her executive assistant had been working together for about 5 years. And when we did our motivational maps, the executive assistant was very unhappy. As a matter of fact, she was starting to look for another job. And I was surprised because her boss was always telling me how wonderful she was. So when I spoke to her and we went through that, I said to her, would you mind if I speak to your boss about this? And she goes, go right ahead. I've tried to talk to her, but she hasn't been hearing me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when I did speak to her boss about it, the boss was surprised. So what I did is I did a two-way meeting where I went over their communication styles, how they talk to each other. This is what the executive needs. Here's what your boss needs. And they managed to reconnect in a way that now, 4 years later, they're still working together and very happy.
That's great.
So it's little things like that. She would have lost probably one of her best executive assistants she'd ever had without really knowing why.
So it is important to not just listen, but to perhaps use a tool to really get to know the needs and the feelings of your staff or for your employees.
That's right. And to do so in a way that is non-invasive. Where you've done it, you don't ask personal questions. It's just, how do you feel about these things? You know, and were you surprised with the response that came back as to what it told you?
Okay, yes. And usually you would come into the picture. If you do the motivational maps, you would come into the picture and guide the employer and the employee about this stuff.
Yes. See, having been an employer myself, I understand the business world. Businesses are in business to make money. If you don't make money, that employee will be out of a job. So it's a two-way street. You have to work with each other. It's a concept I call economic mutualism. And that is a partnership. If the employer is trying to do the best that they can for the employee will do the best that they can for the employer. It works because people are relational. You know, there's not many people I know, hardly anyone I know, who would take without giving back. I know there's people out there, but if that's the kind of person who's there, you don't have to keep them, or they probably wouldn't stay very long because it's not their kind of place. Yes. That's where culture comes in.
Correct. And knowing the culture of the person who works for you and the whole company culture, do you think this would also affect how a person works, how effective and how efficient an employee could be?
Absolutely. For example, if you are somebody who is relationship based, okay, that what's most important to you is forming relationships. And you go to work for a company that is, it's all about production. How much money have you made? How many people have you seen? Whatever you are not going to be very high there, and you can be very motivated because what you value is not what they value. The matching of values. A lot of companies, it doesn't mean you can't work for a company. A lot of companies have, the more people they have, the more balanced they tend to have a culture. So they have a growth culture, which is all about what's about the future, what they're planning for, envisioning the future. They also have an achievement culture. That's in the here and now. That's the making money. That's checking off the boxes, things like that. And they have a relationship culture. When they are fairly balanced in that, there's a place for everyone in the company. You just have to find the right position for them.
How do you do that? It's like talent management as well. How do you make sure that you help that person reach his or her maximum potential in the workplace?
Tools. And it's not just the motivational map. I use a lot of assessments. The two key assessments I use right now is the motivational maps and DNA behavior. Because one is all about what's going on inside your head, inside your subconscious. And the DNA behavior is how that shows up outside of you.
Again,
So
DNA behavior. That's very interesting.
yes, and it is quite amazing when you put them together because you're doing a presentation sometimes when someone I don't know, and the management is saying, wow, you've just described that person to a T. I've never met them. But that is what is important. And people have to be a little bit, the world have to be a little bit more open and trusting. And once we start trusting each other, we have better opportunities. We're open to what's going to happen next. The more you try to control, think about this. If you've got something in your head, you're trying to put that away, you hold on to it, you can crush it, you can destroy it. And a hand allows you to see what there and somebody else to see what there, and they will look at that and go, wow, that's value. Yeah. And that's what we need to do is open up a little more.
Yes. You have
Does
mentioned, yes,
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said, does that make sense?
It does, totally, totally. You have also mentioned spirituality in the workplace. Before, it was not really welcome, or shall I say, businesses and workplaces don't really openly talk about spirituality. But do you think that the business landscape has changed, or the, COVID-19 has changed this?
For a lot of people, yes, because if you think about it, once you start to think about your own mortality, spirituality starts to come into that. What's going to happen? What am I leaving behind? What are people going to remember me for? Who am I? So the spirituality definitely enters there. It also used to be that you didn't bring emotions to work. I remember a couple of years ago in Seattle, I was doing a talk at the WIT, Women in Technology, and I was on the panel about bringing emotions to work, where women were told, if you're going to cry, go do it in the bathroom. Yeah, this is not the place for it. But now people are accepting us as human beings with our emotions. And one of the things, it doesn't mean we should be letting it all out. I was just at one client's place doing a lunch and learn, and it's talking about how to regulate your emotion so you don't react badly to someone else. I didn't say you ignore your emotion or you just try to hide it. It's being who you are, being open, but saying, you know what? Here's a simple one. You meet somebody or you go to somebody or let's say you come into work in the morning and you're going by somebody's desk and you say, good morning, and they don't answer.
Yeah.
Some people would feel, oh, what's going on there? If you are emotionally intelligent and emotionally in yourself, you may stop, turn, look at the other person and go, is everything okay?
Yes.
Yeah. building trust. And if they say fine, go, okay. But if there is anything you want to talk to me about, I assure you it will stay confidential and we can talk about it. You're building stronger relationships, not ignoring emotions. If somebody says something to trigger you, make you angry or upset that you want to cry, you think of some people, the way they deal with it, and this is perfectly healthy, is they say, you know what, I can't do that right now. I'm going to put it away. I'll deal with it later. The key there is that you deal with it later. You pull it out, you say, what happened? What triggered me? And how am I going to respond the next time? You know, those are the things that we never talk about. We taught anybody how to deal with emotional regulation, but it's now becoming very, very important.
Yes. Is it correct to say, because I've read one time from one of the scrolls of Og Mandino, is to master your emotion, to master your
Absolutely.
emotion in the workplace?
Yes. And like I said, mastering your emotion doesn't mean that you hide what you're feeling. It just means you be open and accepting. Oh, I'm upset about this. Why am I upset? Okay. And you go through a number of steps. And for everyone, it's different. But you pick the one that you find most comfortable to deal with, and you go through that. Because when you react negatively, if you yell at somebody, you are ruining trust. You are ruining the atmosphere at work. Because
Yeah,
how can people feel it's okay to say what they're feeling if somebody is going to yell at them or
correct.
scream at them or be angry at them? The silent treatment is actually worse than anything else.
Yes, I agree.
But it's because you don't know what's wrong. You don't know what that other people is thinking. And as human beings, our brains are programmed for going to the most negative thing first. It's somebody can be upset and you think, oh my God, they're upset with me. It has nothing to do with you. But you think it has to do with you. And then you start going through all your conversations. And when you're doing that, you are wasting your mental energy on something that, here's a little thing I learned. Emotions can last up to 90 seconds. But when you're upset 2 hours later or 3 hours later, it's not the emotion. It's your reaction to the emotion that is keeping you upset.
Your reaction to the emotion. So,
Yeah.
should you react? Should you master it? Should you table that and I will react later? What is the best thing to do?
There is no one best thing. It depends on the person. Okay. Because there's so many ways, and depending on who you are, in what type of an environment you grew up in, the kind of relationships you have around you, you will choose a different method. And sometimes I have maybe 4 coping skills for that, depending on who I'm talking to.
Depends on where you are and who you're talking to.
Exactly.
That is perfect. I learned a lot from you. I love it. But with the changes that we have, with the new style of leadership, the flexibility at work, how does one get the most out of it? How do we make sure that we, maximize what we have now?
You start with self awareness. Self awareness is the most powerful tool we all have. And what's unfortunate, there is a woman called, anyway, she did a 4-year study on self awareness.
Mhm.
And what she found that while 85% of the people think they're self aware when asked, they say, yes, I'm self aware, only 10 to 15% actually were. So the person we lie to the most is ourselves.
Yeah, ouch. Yeah.
We think we know ourselves, but we really don't. And one of the best ways to do that is um, what you do is you do a questionnaire and you send it in, and then you invite a number of people who knows you. And it can be, I've done the people whom I've just met, people whom I've known all my life, my children, my husband, the people who are closest to me. And when the answers come back in, it's comparing they see you to how you see yourself.
Yes.
because self-awareness has two parts to it. How well do I know myself? But if you don't know how other people see you,
Mhm.
it doesn't mean you have to change yourself to be what they want. But if you don't know how they see you, you are not really self-aware, because you have to know how you're showing up in the world.
So, how you know yourself and how people see you should match. If they don't match, is there a problem?
And it will never match totally. Okay. Like, I've spent years becoming more and more self-aware, and I am 75% self-aware.
Mm.
And the way I figure is that you can never know it because we're changing all the time.
Yes. And
So you
sometimes our
can,
behavior, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Yeah. And I think sometimes our behavior changes with the person that we're dealing with. Our
Mhm.
behavior changes with our situation at the present. We can react differently based on our emotion or feelings at that moment and our aspirations for the future as well.
Yes. And we do react differently to different people. And if you want to change someone else, you know the best way to do that? Change yourself. Change how you react with them. I learned that lesson when my son was 3 years old,
Mhm.
and he was doing some stuff I didn't like. And I thought, okay, I went and I did my research. And then I changed the way I reacted to him, and he changed his behavior in relation to it. And it was like, oh, wow, that is powerful.
And a
So,
great
yes,
and a great realization for you too.
yes. Those are the things that started me on this journey of who am I? How do people think? What do they do? And how can we make ourselves better
Mhm.
when relating to people? Because nobody's an island. We need people for everything.
Yes. And I think what you're saying, Akila, is not just for the workplace, it's also for daily living, it's also for your family, for wherever you are.
People, the more self aware you become, the more peace you have, the better relationships you have, the more contented you are with your life. Material things don't start to matter as much because you're real. And one of the biggest things is you become more and more non judgmental because you start to realize all of the things that went into making you and how complex it is. So, how can you judge someone else when you know nothing about them? Yeah.
Yes.
So, there's about 10 benefits at least from becoming more self aware, and it's 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 just incredible. Or especially over the last 10 years, I have been experiencing so much peace in my life.
Mhm.
Things that used to matter when we are young. We're so passionate about stuff, and we get so emotionally involved in little things. That's not going to matter years from then. You
Yes.
know, as you get older, you're starting to think, yeah, that's not important. Let's do something. Let's talk about something that's important. Let's react to what's really important. Yeah.
You have mentioned, I'm sorry if I missed it, you have mentioned 10 benefits to being self aware. Would you care to mention them?
I can't think of all of them right now. Um, like I said, there was the peace, the better relationships, the feeling good about yourself, being non-judgmental, um, more aware of your emotions, and being more in control of your emotions. And that's five. And the other five, again, I can send you something that you could put at the bottom if people want it,
Yes.
to look at it.
That's great. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, time flew. My goodness, it's already been 30 minutes that we're talking, and I could not get enough of you. But what, Akila, how could they reach you?
You could use email, and that is adave at courageousbc.com. BC is for the Courageous Business Culture. So courageousbc.com, and it's A B A V I S. Okay. Or You can look me up on LinkedIn. I have a profile on LinkedIn that is very active. Or you can simply pick up a Courageous Business Culture and give me a call.
That's wonderful. Yes. And if there's one thing that business leaders should know and practice today, what would that practice be?
That would be willing to change. Be willing to ask the questions of what other people need and be willing to change.
Be willing to change. I'll take note of that. Thank you very much, Akeela. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm pretty sure our listeners have learned a lot from you and would be more interested to know more and to use the tools that you have been using. Perhaps they could invite you to speak at their conferences as well. You have heard Akeela. You can email her, add her on LinkedIn, follow her, or give Courageous Business a call.
Culture. Yeah.
Courageous Business Culture a call. Thank you so much, Akeela.
Thank you, Sherry. This has been wonderful. I always enjoy speaking with you.
Yeah. Same here. Thank you so much for watching. And thank you once again, Akeela. Don't forget to follow Life Expressions streams on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and whatever favorite podcast apps you have. And I would like to say the question sometimes is not just about whether you are able to change, but how fast enough you can change. Don't forget, change begins with ourselves. And that is what businesses need today. Till next time, here on Life Expressions.